Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDM44. I'm gonna try to keep my voice down. I'm just messing around with my fantasy basketball lineups. The league is back, so get a chance to look at everybody's stats. Not necessarily the games, but stats for right now, and check on the highlights a little later. But one team that I'm looking at who is intriguing to me in the Eastern Conference is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I know they're not a good team. Nobody's expecting them to make the playoffs. I'm not here to tell you they're going to win a championship or anything stupid. But I am here to tell you that they do have a young core that's raising eyebrows. Isaac Okoro, young rookie, I like him. He had a terrible game today. He ran around for 42 minutes and had like 3 rebounds. You're not going to see that twice. He's a kid with upside and had a good preseason and a good start to the season. I think that was an anomaly. And I expect to see a lot of good things out of him going forward. He is the small forward of their future to go along with Porter. They have a choice if they want to go with Porter Jr. or him at the small forward, shooting guard, all that good stuff. It's a good problem to have. Those are both two very, very good young prospects at that position. And of course, they still got God, I can't think of the guy's name right now. My mind went blank. Seti Osman, of whom I think is still much better than his role in Cleveland. I think he's a real player, and I'd love to see him get an opportunity to play. Because I thought he would be somebody that would get a lot of minutes after LeBron left, and it just never happened. It never manifested. I don't follow the team, so I don't know if he regressed. I don't know, but I saw enough from him several years back to know that he's a player, and just needs to be in a better situation, I guess. But he's a guy I'm looking at. Larry Nance Jr. starting off strong. He looks great. Year 6 for him, I think. That's a really, really good high-level role player that I think can win the Sixth Man of the Year trophy before it's all said and done. I would have loved to have Larry stick around, but of course the Lakers are going in different directions, and no regrets here. But I think Larry Nance Jr. is a heck of a role-playing power forward, small forward, center combination. Not really small forward, but definitely power forward center. He can shoot a little bit. He's a competent set shooter. Obviously can lift off. We know he can get off the floor, and really complements guys well. Sets good screens. He's not overly talented, but he does all the things that you need him to do to be strong enough out there to really solidify your second unit at that position. So I like Larry Nance. Big fan of his. High character guy too. Of course, look at their centerpiece, Andre Drummond, one of the more productive players in all of basketball. Even though he's not considered a skills guy, he can't really shoot. His free throw shooting is not very good at all, but we know who Drummond is. He's been in this league for 6-7 years, made a couple all-star teams, I believe. If he hasn't, he should have. He's just a dominant force on the boards and scoring the basketball inside, and he's helpful defensively as well. I don't think he's a defensive center per se, but he's very, very, very helpful. Definitely somebody you want in your squad, no matter who you are. I think Drummond's somebody who could really help most teams. So you have him. Now, what it really comes down to for the Cleveland Cavaliers, in my opinion, all those other guys, fantastic, nice core group of guys to have. Kevin Love is in that mix. You like him as well, of course. Even though he's older now, I still think he can help his team and fit in anywhere. Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. That's the key. Those guys went off tonight. Off. Like, not just off. They showed you that they're both going to be somebody that you have to deal with. They look like Dame and CJ out there from a number standpoint. Now, I haven't seen the highlights. I don't know what they did. I'm going to preface that by saying you guys would have to tell me how they did from a basketball standpoint, how they looked on the floor. But the numbers showed me that they both put up all-star numbers tonight together in a front court together with one another. And that was the question. Could they play together? I always thought of Darius Garland as a high-level player. If you go back and look at some of my old videos from that particular draft, I wanted the Lakers to keep that pick and take Darius Garland. That's how high I was on him. He had a rough rookie season playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, when you play for a team like that, they're looking to lose purposefully so that they can get high draft picks. That's just standard. And a lot of times, rookies, especially non-defensive rookies, tend to not really excel in those type of situations, particularly young guards. So I think it was a little bit of that in Garland's rookie season. He did not have a good rookie season, not for the type of skill set and talent that we believe him to have. It was not good. Colin Sexton started breaking out at the end of last season, midway last season. Even in his rookie season, you could see what he was about. He's a high energy, defensive-minded, scoring point guard. And, you know, when you're two-way like that and you can play some two very comfortably, it allows for you to put in a guy like Darius Garland. They can both kind of do some of the same things. They're both playmakers. It's not like neither one of them are selfish players. They can move the basketball. And the thing that I thought was really interesting was the fact that Darius Garland was statistically the worst defensive player in all of basketball last season. That surprised me. And ironically enough, in my 2K league, he's a lockdown defender. Like, you can't score on him. It's just weird how 2K does things sometimes. But the way they have him set up on one of my leagues with my fantasy player, or whatever you call it, my team player, so to speak, Darius Garland, I'm a point guard. Darius Garland's the best defensive point guard in the league. He was all defensive. Last season, he made the all defensive team, first team. So you understand how weird that contrast from reality to the video game, as I've seen it, actually is. But that tells me something. In that game, they have it set up so that Garland's upside defensively is, at the very least, much better than it is in real life. So if Garland can come around to playing some defense the way that he did in 2K, he'll be a Hall of Famer. But if for some reason he's able to get at least competent, it can show on the Cleveland Cavaliers. It'll definitely be a glaring success for them to turn him into a defensive-minded point guard as well, because that's really comes down to, he'll be the smaller of the two players between him and Sexton. So I take it that Sexton will likely be the guy playing the two more than not. They'll both play one, and they'll sub out for one another, but they can play together. And then you could throw in Okoro or Osman, or of course Porter at the three, and then solidify that with one of those two bigs that I've already mentioned, Love and Nance. And then of course you have Drummond and JaVale, three-time NBA champion, back there as well. Whom I would love to still have. I personally would rather have them than Marcus Gasol. So for whatever that's worth, I think Cleveland has a very strong competitive lineup. Now, can they win? No, I think it's a little early for most of those guys. The guys that are vets are not impactful enough to drag youngsters along. So the way I look at that Cleveland Cavalier team is I don't expect them to win any games. I don't expect them to want to win any games. But what I do see for the first time since LeBron left is a team worth watching and a team worth rooting for. So if you're a Cleveland fan, if you're from Cleveland, this is the year where you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because they do have a bunch of youngsters that all are going to contribute in this league one way or another. And what that means is you could trade those guys for real pieces. If for some reason you're not feeling both of those two point guards, they're going to hold value after this season. Keep them healthy, they're going to hold value. So you can see something to work with there. That's basically one that I took about 8-9 minutes to tell you. Cleveland Cavaliers have something to work with for the first time in a very long time. So just kind of wanted to touch on the team that I don't talk about, don't think much of, honestly, but they do have a bunch of players there that are, intriguing to me. So yeah, I don't know what their coaching situation looks like. I literally have no idea who their coach is. I don't follow the team, but I know the roster just like I know most. So there's that. Thank you guys for watching. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.